until my father left the house. Then I went to her and closed the door behind me. I told her, "I heard you talking to him about something from the past. I need to know what's going on." She tried to avoid it at first. She said, "Daniel, it's better if you don't get into this." But I told her, "It already got into me. My brother is gone because of this." She went quiet. You could tell she didn't want to say it, but at the same time, she knew she couldn't hide it anymore. Then she finally said, "Your grandfather wasn't a simple man." I sat down and just listened. She told me that a long time ago, before we lived here, our family was somewhere else, in a different area. Back then, life was different. People didn't solve problems the way they do now. Everything was based on pride, power, and revenge. She said my grandfather got into a conflict with someone important, and in that conflict, he killed him. After that, everything changed, because it didn't end there. The family of that man didn't forget, they didn't forgive, and they didn't move on. It turned into what people call a blood feud. I asked her, "You mean they've been waiting all this time?" She looked at me and said, "People like that don't forget, even if it takes years." Then I asked her the only thing that mattered. "So Ethan," she didn't answer immediately. Then she said, "He wasn't the one they came for." That sentence stayed in my head. "They were looking for your father," she said, "and your brother was just there." At that point, everything became clear. The silence, my father's reaction, the way he avoided everything. He knew this could happen. I left the room without saying anything. I didn't feel angry in that moment, not even sad, just empty, because now it wasn't a mystery anymore. It was something much worse. It meant my brother didn't die because of something he did. He died because of something that happened before he was even born. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized something. If my father wasn't going to do anything about it, then no one would. And that's when I made my decision. Not out loud, not to anyone, but in my head, it was already done. After that conversation with my aunt, I didn't see things the same way anymore. It wasn't confusion anymore. I knew what happened, and I knew why. For a couple of days, I stayed quiet. I didn't talk about it with anyone. Not my father, not my cousins, no one. But inside my head, I was thinking about one thing the whole time. What am I going to do about it? Because the truth is, I couldn't just live like nothing happened. Every time I saw my parents, every time I walked past the place where we found him, it kept coming back. And the more I thought about it, the more I felt like staying there wasn't an option anymore. So I made a decision. I was going to go find them. I didn't tell anyone. I knew if I said anything, they would stop me. So I kept it to myself. A few days later, I found a way. There were some people in our village who traveled south from time to time, not exactly to the same place my aunt mentioned, but close enough. I went to one of them and asked if I could come with them. I told him I had relatives there and wanted to visit. He didn't question it much. He just said, "We're leaving in a few days." That gave me time to prepare. I didn't have money, so I took some gold from my mother's things. Not because I wanted to, but because I knew I would need something out there. Travel, food, anything. Then I went into my father's room. He had a gun, old, but still working. I took it. I remember holding it for a second and thinking, once I leave, there's no going back to how things were, but I didn't stop. Before I left, I wrote a short note and left it hidden. I didn't explain much, just enough for them to know I was gone. When the day came, I left with those people. The trip was long, hours on the road, then more time walking between places. The further we went, the more everything started to look different. Different people, different houses. Even the way they spoke felt different. Eventually, we reached a village near the area my aunt told me about. Not exactly the same one, but close. They dropped me there, and from that moment, I was on my own. I didn't rush into anything. I knew I couldn't. I was a stranger there. If I made one wrong move, people would notice. So I started slowly, walking around, watching, listening. I kept thinking about what Lucas told me. A white car, 2 men, 1 broken brake light. So I started paying attention to every car I saw, every street, every house. The first day, nothing. The second day, still nothing. Then on the third day, I saw it. A white car, parked near a house, old model. Looked exactly like what he described. I didn't go close immediately. I stayed at a distance, just watching. After a while, someone came out, got into the car and started it. I moved slightly, trying to see the back. He pressed the brake, and that's when I saw it. One of the lights wasn't working. At that moment, I knew. I stepped back like nothing happened and walked away, trying to stay calm, but inside, everything changed. I spent the rest of that day watching that house from different spots, making sure I wasn't wrong, and I saw them. Two guys, around my age, maybe a bit older, coming in and out, laughing, talking, living normally, like nothing ever happened. At some point, I asked someone nearby casually, "Who lives there?" He said, "That's Ryan and his friend Tyler. They're always together." Then he added, "Stay away from them. They're trouble." I didn't say anything. I just nodded and walked away. But in my head, it was already clear. These were the ones. That night, I sat alone, holding the gun, thinking about everything that led me there. I knew what I came for. I knew what I was about to do. The only thing I didn't know was what happens after. But at that point, I didn't care anymore. That night, I couldn't sleep. I wasn't even trying at some point. I'd just lie there, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything in my head. Not just what happened, but the small things too. The way Ethan looked before he left, the way he said he was hungry, the way I told him to go quickly and come back, and that thought kept coming back to me. What if I didn't send him? By the morning, I already knew I wasn't leaving this place without doing something. I didn't say it out loud, I didn't need to. It was already decided. I stayed around their house that day, not too close, just watching, trying to look normal like I was just passing time, but really I was waiting. I didn't want both of them. I didn't want noise. I just wanted one moment, one clean moment. It happened later than I expected. One of them came out, Ryan. He looked normal. That's the thing I remember the most. There was nothing about him that made you think, this person did something like that. He just walked out, like anyone else, and started heading down a path away from the village. I followed him. Not close, just enough so I wouldn't lose him. We kept walking, and slowly the place got quieter. No people, no houses, nothing around us, just that path. And at some point I realized this was it. If I was going to do anything, it would be here. I called his name. Ryan. He stopped and turned around. He looked at me for a second, trying to figure out who I was. Yeah? I walked closer. I don't even remember thinking about what to say. It just came out. I'm Daniel. He didn't react. So I said it again, clearer this time. Ethan's brother. That's when it changed. You could see it in his face. He knew exactly what I was talking about. He didn't deny it. He didn't ask what I meant. He just went quiet. And that silence was enough. I got closer and grabbed him. Not even out of anger at first, just I didn't want him to walk away from that moment. I asked him if he remembered him. He didn't answer. I asked him if Ethan said anything, if he tried to stop it, if he asked them to leave him alone. Still nothing. He tried to talk at some point, saying, listen or wait. But honestly, I wasn't really listening anymore, because I wasn't seeing him at that moment. I was seeing my brother on the ground. Everything after that didn't feel like a decision. It just happened. I remember pulling out the knife. I remember him trying to move, trying to get away. I remember my hands, but it didn't feel like they were mine, and then it was over. It didn't take long. It never does. After that, it got quiet again. The same kind of quiet from that night. I stepped back and just looked at him. I thought, maybe now something would feel different. Maybe that feeling in my chest would finally go away. But it didn't. Nothing changed. I didn't feel better. I didn't feel relieved. If anything, it felt heavier. I stayed there for a bit. Then I just walked back. No one stopped me. No one saw anything. It was like nothing even happened. The next day they found him, and the whole place changed. People started talking, trying to understand what happened, asking questions, and I was there, just standing with them, listening, watching. I even went to his funeral. I don't know why, but I did. I stood there looking at him. And that's when it really hit me. This didn't fix anything. Ethan was still gone. Nothing I did changed that. All I did was make things worse. A few days later, they came for me. I don't know how they figured it out. Maybe someone saw something, maybe it was just a guess. But when they came, I didn't run. I could have, but I didn't, because I think deep down, I already knew this was how it ends. They took me, asked questions, tried to get me to talk. But I didn't have anything to say, not because I was trying to be strong, but because there was nothing left inside me to explain. Everything had already been said, just not with words. And that's when I understood something I wish I understood earlier. Revenge doesn't close anything. It doesn't calm you down. It doesn't give you peace. It just changes you into someone you weren't before. And once that happens, you don't go back. That's it. That's the story. If there's one thing I learned from all of this, it's that Not everything that feels right actually is, because sometimes you think you're fixing something when you're really just continuing it. And by the time you realize it, it's already too late.